Hello, this is Dave. Today, I have a couple of thoughts that I'd like to share, but um, just as a footnote, as it were, I want to remind you that my people that I'm speaking to are those that have no religious affiliation, religious, denominational, organizational affiliation is probably the best way to talk about it. If you already are going to a church, you have someone that, a pastor, someone that you're under the authority of, then fine. You don't need to listen to anything that I'm saying. So the purpose of my doing these videos is to get the message out to what statisticians call the nuns, NONES. These are the 66 to 99 million people, Americans here in the United States, who are religiously unaffiliated. They don't go to a church. They're not affiliated with the denomination, but they believe in God. They follow Jesus. They read the Bible. They get involved in activities now and then. And they may be that those that go to church for Christmas, for Easter, like that, something resembling that. They'll go a couple of times a year for special days, and they're in that category. And it's 20 to 30% of the people here in the United States. And of that, I'd say a significant percentage of those are people who express their spirituality by saying, yes, I believe in Jesus, I am a follower of Jesus. So it's to you that I'm speaking. Okay, now that that's out of the way, a couple of things. First off, has to do with the reset. Where is that? Well, one is reset. The other, okay, we'll do the other one first. The second point has to do with the storming of the gates of hell in Matthew 16. Jesus speaks to his disciples about storming the gates of hell. I'd always thought that the gates of hell was storming the church, but it's actually the other way around. Jesus spoke this in Caesarea Philippi, which is at the very northern boundary of then Israel, and still. He was standing on a rock, a large rock, where right now stands a temple to Pan. It's a Greek or Roman god of one kind or another. And that was a place where it's at the Mount Hermon. A lot of stuff happened at Mount Hermon historically in human history. That's where the Watchers got themselves in trouble, and maybe one day I'll talk about that a little bit. Maybe not. It's interesting, but anyway, that's basically Satan's home turf, and on that home turf, he's saying that the church, that the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. And a lot of people have different views. Roman Catholics, Protestants. One is Revelation, one is Peter, but this is probably the better view, the more accurate view in terms of what Jesus actually meant. Gates are defensive apparatus, not offensive. And so Jesus is saying the church is going to storm the gates of hell. They're going to be battered. And that's what's happening right now. That's what the reset is. That's part of the reset. That the church is battering the gates of hell. And hell doesn't like it. And so hell responds. That's part of what's going on these days with the wars, the current wars and the what I call the uh, anomalous war in Israel right now. Um, just can't find a place for it to fit. If the my assumed timeline is correct, so maybe my assumed timeline is incorrect. And but anyway, that's a little bit later. So the storming of the gates of hell, Jesus speaks about. It's this is the precursor. This is a part of the reset that has taken place. That has been people have been speaking about over the last couple of years, and this reset is the preparation for the kingdoms of men. Yes, it's preparing the kingdoms of men for the coming of the kingdom of heaven. Jesus' kingdom is the kingdom of heaven. It's coming, like it or not, ready or not, and it's already manifesting in many, many different ways. And people talking about reversals, realignments, and they're happening. And I believe the proof is all this kind of stuff that's going on. One of the things that's more than a little bit troubling over the last couple of years has been the onset and the surge of gender confusion and gender, not manipulation, gender. What is that? What's the word that I'm looking for? Gender mutilation. The surge in this gender confusion stuff has just been remarkable in the way it's captured the public attention, not only here in the States, but worldwide. And if you step back and think about it and look at it, it's just seems a bit weird that all of a sudden this thing came and took the spotlight, as it were, of public attention. And it's crazy. Even unsaved people are saying it's crazy. The liberals are saying that it's crazy. And it is crazy. The idea of gender reassignment, of actually doing it, and then the language involved in identifying, self-identification, it's just, it's not so much that it just doesn't make sense. That's surprising, but it's become so widespread in such a short period of time. And that's, for me, possibly a sign, an indication that something's going on. This is a response from hell. This is the response of the enemy as his gates are being stormed, and other spiritual stuff is going on. Now I want to talk about Numbers 28. This is a verse where God tells Moses to speak to the rock to produce water for the children of Israel. And instead of speaking to the rock to bring forth water, he strikes it once or twice. And that's enough of a mistake to cause him to not make it into the promised land. And, it is what it is, right? And the idea here is speak to the rock, proclaim, declare to the rock, water come out. But he didn't do that. And when you think about it, that God tells the guy to speak to the rock to produce water. And my bringing this up has to do with making declarations and decrees, proclamations, pronouncements, speaking, and saying in prayer. For many people, for most people, making declarations during as prayer seems awkward, and but it's absolutely biblical. I've gone over that in one video, and but it needs to be done, and it needs to be done because it's biblical. And here's an example of God telling one of his servant to make a declaration, to speak to the rock to produce water, but he didn't do it, and he struck the rock instead, and it was enough of a mistake that it cost him. He wanted to go into the promised land, and it was important enough for him that he brought it up so many times that God eventually said, all right, this is the last time, just stop talking about this thing, okay? And so making declarations, making decrees is a part of praying. As uncomfortable as it is, it needs to be done. Just like prayer, you start doing it and it'll start growing on you. It will. Another example that I didn't use last time, proof text, as it were, is in Ephesians 6:17, where Paul, in talking about the armament of God, the armor of God, is describing the sword of the Spirit. It says the sword of the Spirit is the word of God. And here in the Greek, the word of God is the rhema of God, not the logos of God. So the logos is the written, and the rhema is the spoken. And that kind of thing with the spoken and about speaking, that distinction is, I believe, is legitimate. And speaking needs to be done. Declarations and decrees need to be made, because God is telling us to do that, and Moses is a great example. I don't know about you, but in reading the Bible and following the news of the day, I subconsciously try to put it on a Bible timeline of sorts. And for the life of me, I can't put this war in Gaza, the Israelis rightfully defending themselves against the hideous hatred of the haters, those that want to destroy every Jew on the planet and destroy the nation of Israel. And they're going to win. I just can't beat the Jews. You just can't. It's as simple as that. And it's been proven historically. And if you're going to put money on somebody, they're the ones to put the money on, believe me. And but I can't put it on a timeline, and that bothers me. And I don't know how to look at it. So I'm thinking my timeline is off, and so I'm trying to readjust it. And so any readjustment necessitates throwing any wars, whether they're nuclear wars that people like to talk about, before the some nuclear war that's in Ezekiel 38, 39, supposedly a nuclear war, some kind of war that's supposed to happen before the millennium. Those kinds of references, I'm throwing those all the way to the end, to the Battle of Armageddon, the last war toward the end of Revelation, when the nations are gathered after Satan is released. And in part of my reevaluation, I'm thinking that everything has to be thrown into that pot, as it were. And so that's makes the end time scenario a lot different than we might want to think. And the events, as far as I'm concerned, that are happening right now do not fit the timelines. They don't fit the charts that you see in books. It just doesn't. And the only thing that might be close would be Zechariah 14, that speaks of the plundering of Jerusalem. And then the Lord comes, and his feet land on the Mount of Olives and splits the land from east to west. And so if this war is the war that leads to the plundering of Jerusalem, then the return of Jesus is literally, like weeks, months away. And so then the point comes, are you ready? And if you're not, you need to get ready. But it is something to consider. And I'm still prayerfully going at this, wondering where to put this. But as I've already said, reality and the Word of God and what God is doing often just throws us into confusion when we're depending upon our own interpretations instead of just taking the Word of God for what it says. And so it's going to be like a thief coming in the night. And the pre-trib rapture people, love that kind of thing, I suppose. But as I said, one of the last short videos, I don't think it's going to go down that way. Yes, we will all meet the Lord in the air, and the air means in heaven. And when we die, we will meet him in the air, in heaven. And, but, yeah, I just have a sense the Lord's going to pull a fast one on us, as it were. But it's not so fast that it's not given in the Word. We're just not reading it right. We're just not reading it right, which is not uncommon. People do that all the time. So, until next time.